So I really did not want to make this video. I really didn't. But after last night's loss, I'm in a bad mood. So we're going to make this video. And this video is going to be all about Chris Drury and what he's done in his first, I think it's been a year and a half now since he made the GM of the New York Rangers. Let's take a look, shall we? So we're going to go through his trades first, and then we're going to go through his signings. So the first trade that GM Chris Drury made as the New York Rangers GM was he acquired Barclay Goodrow from the Tampa Bay Lightning for a 7th round pick. This was the rights to Barclay Goodrow. The Rangers would later sign him. We'll get to that later. And actually a good trade, the Rangers traded Brett Howden to the Vegas Golden Knights for what ended up being a 4th round pick because the Rangers did not re-sign Nick DeSimone. He was gone. It was Brett Howden for a 4th round pick. Simple as that. Not a bad deal. Noah Laba. We'll take a look at him real quick. He's actually having a very solid start. His NCAA career, 10 points in 12 games. I believe he had a hat trick the other night, or a 4-point night, whatever it was. He's just doing very well right now, Noah Laba. So as of right now, looks like a fair trade. Pavel Buchnevich for Sammy Blais and a 2nd round pick. So this is probably the most talked about and will be the most talked about trade in Chris Drury's tenure as the Rangers GM. Rushing to trade Pavel Buchnevich, citing salary cap issues. Meanwhile, we ended up having, I think, $10 million in cap space last season going into the season. Claiming that we did not have enough money to re-sign Pavel Buchnevich. Buchnevich would sign for 5.8 times 4. In other words, pretty damn affordable. And in his first season with the St. Louis Blues, did what we all expected him to do, was over a point-per-game player after being just about a point-per-game player the year before. Oh, and just about a point-per-game player in the playoffs. Rangers struggled to score in the playoffs last year. 76 points, 30 goals, 46 assists in 73 games for the St. Louis Blues. Yeah. But we couldn't afford him. Oh, but we could afford Andrew Kopp at the trade deadline, who at the time, I believe, had a salary cap greater to or equal to... No, it was a little bit less than what Buchnevich was making. And we still had money to spare. So we could have afforded him. To me, this screams a... and I'm already getting fucking frustrated. I'm already getting loud. This screams... fucking screams Glen Sather to me. But then again, Chris Drury's a Glen Sather product, so what else do we expect? Even if Sammy Blais was fully healthy and scored 30 points last year, this trade will never be equal in value. Never. Not even close. Especially considering this 2nd round pick turned into fucking nothing. We'll get to that in a minute. Trading up to get Ryder Korczak, again, it's impossible to grade this trade right now because it's draft picks and futures. On my birthday, not this past year, but the year before, a fucking 3rd round pick. So in other words, more than what Vegas gave up for Brett Howden, we traded a 3rd round pick for Ryan Reeves. And then we extended him for the same exact contract, $1.75 million a year for another year after this. A 3rd round pick for a guy who played 8 minutes a night and a 3rd round pick for a -5, 15 points, not bad. I'm sorry, hold on. Wrong season. 5 points in 37 games, did not even play the full fucking season. 27 pins, in other words, he wasn't fighting anymore. Oh, and 8 points in 102 playoff games. Like, a 3rd round pick for that. And an extension. Moving on. A 4th round pick for Frank Vatrano. Steal. Great move. Took advantage of a team in a bad spot with salary cap problems and picked up a guy who was huge. One of the biggest pieces for us in the playoffs. Like, if you take a look back at Frank Vatrano's tenure as a New York Ranger. Okay, it wasn't a long one. He played 22 games, he had 13 points, 8 goals. Fine. I mean, that's a 20, 30 goal pace right there. That's pretty damn good. In the playoffs, 13 goals in 20 games. That's an efficient playoff producer. And we let him go for nothing. But for a 4th round pick, You're just willing to let it slide for a 4th round pick. If we didn't have, say, Ryan Reeves and, I don't know, Sammy Blaine on the team, well, technically you could have afforded to re-sign Frank Vatrano, but we decided to keep both. And then, for a depth defenseman, a 6/7th defenseman, at the trade deadline, when there were plenty of options you could have gotten for less, we traded a 3rd round pick for Justin Braun. Oh wow, a $1.8 million cap hit. How could we have ever afforded Pavel Buchnevich? More on that later. Yeah. I know the Rangers did very well last season, but this is a sign of a team trying to peak too fucking early. I am all for trying to win as soon as possible, but a 3rd round pick for a replacement level defenseman is a lot. That screams desperation at the trade deadline. If we take a look at, hold on, every trade ever NHL. I think it's this one, yeah. We'll go to last season. We'll go to the trade deadline, which was March 21st. Okay. Where is it? Okay. Nathan Beaulieu, who played against us in the playoffs, did pretty damn well. Conditional 7th round pick. Okay. Jacob Middleton for a meh goalie and a 5th round pick. Okay. Biega, we're not going to really talk. I mean, that's not really great. Josh Brown for a bust of a prospect and a 5th round pick. Let's see. Anthony Boteto, right. The replacement level defenseman we already had for a player who did not even make his NHL. He may have played a game with the Rangers, but still, for literally nothing. Like, if we wanted a replacement level defenseman, there were other ways to go about it, and certainly not giving up a 3rd round pick for it. Robert Haig, 6th round pick. Travis, Troy Setcher, 7th round pick. Travis Dermott, 3rd round pick. This is one that pissed me off. The Nick Paul one. I mean, that was an easy get. Not even trying for it. But we had plenty of defensemen at the time. Plenty of forwards at the time, so it's fine, right? I forgive you. It's okay. The point is, there were a lot of options on defense, and we picked the most expensive one, who is about equal to in value in terms of how he played to the other guys that were traded that I just mentioned, which is just frustrating. Justin Braun was good for us in the playoffs. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great either. He was replacement level. He was solid. He filled the role. He filled the void left by Patrick Nemeth. We'll get to him later. Moving on. Boteto for Merkley. It's a wash trade. It is what it is. Andrew Kopp from Morgan Barron, a 1st, a 2nd, and a 5th. So now the 2nd round pick we got for Buchnevich is now gone because Kopp is gone, and all we have to show for it is a 6th round pick and Sammy Blais. See where I'm going with this? A 1st round pick, Brad Lambert, who, and again, there's no guarantee the Rangers would have drafted him at 30th overall. There's no guarantee the Rangers would have gotten as far as they did without Andrew Kopp. But off to a pretty decent start. 18 years old, out of the draft, and is already playing in the AHL. Not bad. Especially for a guy the Rangers were projected to pick a couple years prior when he was supposed to be like a top 10 pick. But neither here nor there. Andrew Kopp, who somehow garnered a B prospect, a 1st, a 2nd, and a 5th, which is about equivalent to like a serious deadline acquisition, who then we let walk for nothing, which I'm okay with because I wasn't too happy. I wasn't too big on him. 18 points, 6 game, great. 14-20, great. He produced well for us. He did as well as you needed. How many of those points were attributed to playing with Artemi Panarin? Probably all of them. But still, played very well for us. Did fine. For 36 games, we traded a B prospect, a 1st, a 2nd, and a 5th. I'm sorry. If there was another team bidding this high on Andrew Kopp that was willing to match his offer, you should have fucking let them do it. There were other options. Like, listen, if you reacquired Vladimir Mestikov and put him on a line with Artemi Panarin, he might have been able to do the exact same thing as Andrew Kopp. Maybe a little bit less because Kopp is a pretty good player. I enjoyed Kopp when he was here. He fell asleep at times, did too much with the puck sometimes, maybe had a little bit too much confidence, but it's fine. I thought he played well for the Rangers. I thought he did great. But Like, this is what you give up for, like, a fucking superstar at the trade deadline on an expiring contract. Not like a middle six forward. I don't understand it. The steal of the deadline. Tyler Mott for a 4th-round pick. People begging Chris Drury to re-sign Tyler Mott. What does he do? He lets him walk for well below his market value. $1.35 million in cap. That's all it would have costed. There were ways to make this work, like carrying a 22-man roster, which would have been fine anyways and would still be fine, but for some reason we just keep everybody in the NHL, even though we're not using everybody. Does it make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Just a head scratcher. Just a head scratcher. Just don't understand it. Really, I don't. Because right now, we'll get to it later. Reunin for Maxim Lechinov. There's not really a way to grade this trade. I mean, Tarmo Reunin did not have a spot on this Rangers team. It was not meant to be. Lechinov is back in the KHL. Did nothing with the Wolfpack. It's a nothing deal. Can't really get mad or grade him on that trade. It was what it was. Would I prefer a future, like a draft pick? Yeah, but I guess he wanted to pick up depth for the AHL when Hartford wasn't even a playoff team. I don't make these kind of decisions, but I think a draft pick would have sufficed. But again, 3rd, a 5th, and a 3rd for Alexander Georgiev. For what Georgiev was at the time, this is a great trade. McConnell, Barker, and Barbashev look great right now, and we still have a 3rd-round pick too. Georgiev is playing very well with Colorado. I mean, it's to be expected. There's never been a player in history that's left the Rangers and gotten worse. So, that's a great trade. I mean, you got 2 third-round picks and a 5th for a goaltender that we really should not have gotten anything for, considering how bad he played for the Rangers the last 2 years. Oh, and my favorite. Okay, so I'm not going to play he said, she said, but I said the Nemeth signing was shit from the start, but whatever. He signed Patrick Nemeth 3 fucking years, making $2.5 million a year. And he was so bad, so fucking bad in the first year that you had to trade a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick to get rid of him. So this is, again, a young team that is going to need to get better and fill in depth voids with entry-level contracts because we've committed so much fucking money elsewhere where we need these young guys to come up and fill voids to build playoff rosters because we're not really going to have the money or the assets to do so with deadlines anymore. And we need a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick to dump a shitty defenseman that signed a shitty contract thanks to you. The Nemeth signing did not make sense from the get-go. You're giving 3 years, so I think 32 or 31, 32-year-old defenseman at the time who showed nothing. He was a bottom-pairing defenseman on a Detroit team that fucking sucked. I need to calm myself down because I feel myself getting worked up. Oh, yeah, and this fucking 3rd-round pick could become another 2nd-round pick. Does anyone see where I'm going with this? And then Nils Lundqvist for a 1st and a 4th. I mean, what more could you complain? Nils Lundqvist was not going to make the Rangers. He did not even show up to camp, and he got a 1st and a 4th for him. As far as I'm concerned, for the asset we had at the time, this is a great deal. Nils Lundqvist, at this time, for the Dallas Stars, is doing very well, as pretty much, I think, everybody expected. 5 points, 17 games. Maybe he's not doing great, but still, he's playing well enough, okay? For a 1st and a 4th-round pick for a guy that was not playing, it was not going to play, it was going to be a minor league player, I'm totally fine with it. I thought it was a great deal, and I thought Drury did a good job there. Now moving on to Chris Drury's signing history. So the first contract he signed was Adam Fox, 9.5 times 7, followed by Mika, 8.5 times 8, and Shesterkin, 5.6 times 4. I like Mika's contract. I thought Mika took a discount. I really don't... Listen, Adam Fox earned his money. But I wish there was a little bit more finagling that Drury could have done, knowing that we were going to be a penny-pinching team, to maybe just give him the fucking 8th year and get a lower AAV. That's neither here nor there. Shesterkin, I'm not sure why he settled at 4 years. I'm not sure why you wouldn't just give him 8 years, because then you risk 4 years down the line him walking and going elsewhere. Anyways. I want them sort of by side. Sorry. I didn't have them by signing date. My apologies. Okay, the Lindgren deal, good deal. Lundqvist, good deal. Whatever. So Barclay Goodrow. Committing over $3.5 million a year for Barclay Goodrow. Oh, that is not what I wanted to click on. I want to click on Barclay Goodrow. This signing I will never not have a problem with. So the Rangers, for a 28-year-old forward, committed 6 years and over 21, almost $22 million to. For a player who never once eclipsed 25 points in his career, never had scored 10 goals in a season, and was a really solid, he was solid in the playoffs, but he took 26 fucking penalty minutes in 18 games. Okay, that is 13 minors in 18 games. Again, never hit 25 points. I'm sorry. Did he? No, never hit 25 points in a season. Never hit 10 goals. Was good in the playoffs, but again, took a shitload of penalties in the playoffs too. Because he won 2 cups. Oh, because he won 2 cups, he's worth that, right? You know what that sounds like talking? Fucking Glen Sather. Oh, he's won cups before. Oh, he forechecks hard. He does this. Okay, the guy never scored 25 points this season or 10 goals. And we committed over 3.5, knowing we were going to be in a cap crunch. Committed over $3.5 million a year for 6 years for a 28-year-old. Who, again, never scored 25 points and never scored 10 goals in a season. He had 1 point for us in 9 games in the playoffs. Takes a lot of minor penalties. Good penalty killer, though. Good forechecker. Great fourth liner. If he was making $1.5 million less, I'd fucking love him. I love him for $1.5 million less. But that's how much Frankie Vetrano's making less. And Frankie Vetrano was on pace for fucking 30, 40 goals for us. He wasn't going to hit that, obviously. He would have been 20 to 30 goal guy. Fine. But Vetrano was just as good as a forechecker, played just as hard, and scored 3 times as much. And we're paying him over $3.5 million a year because he won a couple cups, and he's a good forechecker. He's a good penalty killer. Does that not scream Glen Sather to anybody? Am I alone in saying that? Moving on. Patrick Nemeth. We already talked about him. Jarred Tinordi. Again, a nothing signing. It really didn't mean anything. He only played a handful of games. But does that not scream Glen Sather? Oh, we need to get tougher. Okay, so let's fucking sign Barclay Goodrow. We'll trade a 3rd-round pick for Ryan Reeves. Oh, and let's sign Jarred Tinordi because he had a fight with Tom Wilson once. When there were other depth defensemen on the market that made just a little more, equal to, or a little bit less than Jarred Tinordi that were 3 times better than he was. Oh, but we want Tinordi in particular because he fought Tom Wilson one time. It doesn't really matter. It was a nothing signing, and he walked for nothing. I'm just saying it. We were so worried about how shitty our defense was at the deadline. We had to give up a 3rd-round pick for a 36-year-old that was a 6th or 7th defenseman. But good that we had Jarred Tinordi. Good thing we signed him. Moving on. Dryden Hunt. What a great value signing. I mean, Dryden Hunt did as much as you could ask for him to do as a New York Ranger in his first season. Okay? Played awesome. And then we lost him to waivers. Is what it is. Greg McKegg did everything you could ask him to do. It was fine. You got Hedel on a bridge deal. Fine. Extended Ryan Reeves. Nothing signing. Shesterkin. Again, I wish we could have got him for 8 years, but maybe Shesterkin was not willing to go past 4. Is what it is. Ottman on his entry level. Libor Hayek. Good. I love the Mika signing. I wish we could have gotten him. Again, Fox earned it, and I'm not mad at Adam Fox. I'm not at all. Listen, if I was Adam Fox, I would have probably asked for more, because I'm a fucking greedy fuck. But, again, you wish maybe just a little bit less, because $500,000 is a pretty big deal, but again, $500,000 is $500,000. If someone gave me $500,000 and it would have affected someone else, yeah, I would have probably fucking taken it, because $500,000 is $500,000. I'm not judging Adam Fox. I'm just wishing that it was a little bit less. But again, neither here nor there. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Brodzinski, what a great signing Johnny Brodzinski was. Okay, this is a zero risk signing. Okay, his first 2 years as a Ranger, he played NHL games. He played well in his NHL games. He's the leader of your minor league team. Like, finally, for the first time ever, the Hartford Wolfpack have a centerpiece and a leader on their minor league team, and Johnny Brodzinski is the perfect guy for it. Good signing, great signing. A nothing. Trevino, great. Pried him out of college, great. Nothing. Oh, gosh, shitty draft pick, but that was not his fault. Gustav Rydell pried him out of Europe. Honestly, he's not doing very much in Hartford right now, but still, they're 5 points in 10 games. Good player. You know, if injuries come about, he'll be here. You got Kravtsov back. He re-signed Sammy Blaze somehow for more than what he made the year before, despite him playing no game. Again, Gauthier, fine. Richard Trocheck, to tell you, to this point, it looks like a good signing. But then again, the contract's young. It's 7 years old, but it's going to be 7 years old by its conclusion. But as of right now, Trocheck's awesome. He's checked every single box. He's not only replaced Ryan Strome, but he's completely usurped Ryan Strome in what he's done. Vincent Trocheck is probably going to go down as Chris Drury's best signing, because as of right now, I mean, he is. And Trocheck's playing off his ass. Trocheck, to me, has actually reached a new level and hit a new level as a player. He's not only just this mucket, kick ass in front of that. He's got hands. He's passing the puck well. He's doing everything well. Yaroslav Halak. I was kind of against his signing from the get-go. I made a point of not mentioning his name when I made my potential New York Rangers sign videos because I was afraid he was going to ask for too much money more than what he's worth. Oopsie daisy, sorry about that. I should clean the top of my computer. Yaroslav Halak is yet again the Rangers going after a veteran goalie because, he's a veteran goalie. Why take a risk on a young guy when there's other young guys that are making equal to or less than Yaroslav Halak that we could have signed for and gotten probably equal value. One of them is actually named, what's his name? I don't know. Louis fucking Domingue, who's making half of what he is making and is probably just as efficient. I never understood the Halak signing. It didn't make any sense. He was 36 years old. He really has not played meaningful hockey in a couple of years. Just 3 years ago would have been a great signing to me this year in a cap crunch. Why you would delve out $1.5 million to a backup goaltender just beyond me. Again, this screams Glen Sather and Marty Baron. And Marty Baron was a great backup goalie for the Rangers for 2 years. I just don't understand it. And then the same fucking day, you signed Louis Domingue. So just, whatever. Walensky, Turner, Elson, again, these don't matter. Ryan Carpenter's been a great signing from the get-go. I mean, he's over 60% in the face-off. He's just been awesome. It's fine. Carpenter's doing well. He's doing very well. Good 13th forward. Sakura, Rushev, Gettinger, Kakos. None of these guys matter. Jimmy Vesey, another good signing. I mean, what a surprise Vesey's been. It's been whatever. So, whatever. This is signing history. Let's take a look at the Rangers today. What, $173,000 in cap space. And not utilizing the ability to send down people that are, put on waivers. But, again, whatever. Does not want to fix the cap crunch because at the trade deadline, we're not even going to have $1 million in cap space, and that is not going to change. So, and we're going into this draft with 2 first-round picks, a second, a third, no fourth, no fifth, 2 sixths, and a seventh, a first, a second, no third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. So, I don't know. I don't know how to grade Drury's job as a GM to this point. I don't. You got to re-sign Keandre Miller and Alexi Lafreniere and Philip Hedl. Those are your 3 big free agents going into this season. Blaze gonna walk. Reeves better fucking walk. I'm not worried about Kravtsov. I'm not really worried about anybody else. Just Hedl, Lafreniere, and Keandre Miller. You got to find a way to extend them. The Rangers are going into next offseason with about $18 million in cap space if the cap only climbs by $1 million. There were projections earlier set up by Gary Bettman that if there was was paid up, the revenue sharing escrow. If that was paid up by the end of the season, we could see a jump of almost $5 million. That would be huge for the Rangers. I'm not counting on it. I'm certainly not banking on it. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I don't know. But other than those 3, I mean, and you got to imagine, depending on what the Rangers give to these guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Keandre Miller got the Ryan McDonough / Brady Shea special where he's going to get 7 to 8 years, probably around 5 and change a season. I think that would be fucking awesome if we can get him locked up on that. Deal with that later. Lafreniere, to this point, I really do not know how you extend Lafreniere. I mean, his draft cohort, Tim Stützle just signed for over $8 million a year. Lafreniere has shown zero, nothing at this point, that he's worth that much money at this juncture. If he gets better, who the hell knows? But he just hasn't really shown that he's worth over $8 million a year, over 7, over 6, or even over 5, or 4, or 3. So I really don't know what they're going to do with him. Hedl, you're probably going to see him around the 3 and change mark. If they could find a way to somehow lock up Hedl 6 times 3.5, I think that would be great. I just don't know if Hedl accepts that. I feel like he's going to want more. He's going to ask for more. He's probably going to get a Kevin Hayes type contract, another bridge deal that'll take him to his second to last year of RFA eligibility before he becomes a UFA, and then we'll probably trade him at the deadline a few years down the line, or just let him walk for nothing. I really don't know. It's hard to tell at this juncture, but neither here nor there. The long-term outlook of this team is really a little frustrating and confusing. In terms of finding ways to make cap space, aside, Barclay Goodrow would be very difficult to trade because of his cap hit and his modified no trade clause. You would not be able to dump him to a shitty team because he's not going to put any shitty teams on his modified no trade clause. He's probably only going to put playoff teams, all of whom are in a cap crunch. So I don't really see a way you could get rid of Barclay Goodrow. It would definitely be easier than getting rid of Jacob Trouba and his $8 million a year cap hit. I really have no idea how the hell the Rangers are going to get rid of that contract when the time comes, because there will be a time that comes where we need to get rid of that cap hit. Ryan Lindgren, I really don't know. Statboy Steven made a really good point that he might become a casualty of the New York Rangers, not because of cap, but because the Rangers are so deep defensively in their system, even still to this day. Zachary Jones, Miller, Schneider, Leroy Hayek's played well, and you still got guys coming up. Emberson, who knows what he could be, Matthew Robertson, and whoever comes up in these upcoming drafts. Yeah, I don't know. I really, at the end of this video, I wanted to go through all this and give Chris Drury a grade on everything he's done as the Rangers GM, but to tell you the truth, I still think it's too early to grade his job as a GM, but from where we're sitting today, really not that great in terms of asset management. I mean, a lot of what we saw was, trading guys away and not getting enough back, and trading too much for guys that really long-term did not provide very much. In the short term, like Kopp did a lot, and Braun helped out a little bit, but just not great management of assets. But this is maybe me speaking more frustrated because the Rangers are playing poorly right now. Maybe it was more of a biased assessment because I'm frustrated, but you guys let me know in the comment down below. To tell you the truth, I'm not super thrilled with how Drury's done and at the beginning of his tenure as a Rangers GM, but you got to give him credit for one thing. He believed in his team last year. He tried to get them to the playoffs, and he made the moves that he believed would push them into the playoffs and further than just the first round. And he accomplished what he set out to do. It's just at what cost? And then just the cap management has been really bad, just amongst other things. But either way, I digress for now. You guys comment below your thoughts. How has Chris Drury done through his first year and a half as the New York Rangers GM? I'm tired. I got to go to class. I got class starting in 10 minutes. But I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.